It's Jared from Strong Roots Farm. Today we're going to talk pickup trucks. So if you haven't been around my channel, it's predominantly a farming channel, obviously with the cows and the pastures here in the background. But today that is not the case. This video will be good for anybody looking to purchase a pickup truck. So if you're average Joe, subdivision, it's fine. No hard feelings there, but we've got some access and some mathematical ways that we evaluate our equipment here on the farm. Today, I'm going to take you through that with the pickup truck. Another thing, there's a huge argument, whether it's online or with your buddies or on YouTube, about diesel versus gas. Today, I hope to answer that question. I will not point you in a specific direction. I'm not sponsored by anybody. I don't have any motives here for doing this other than helping my viewers. Today, I'm going to show you how to mathematically evaluate it, how we do it, and then you can do it for yourself and choose what's best for you and your family. Stick around, that's all coming up today. So welcome back if you're returning. If you're new, thanks for watching. Today we're going to go over a spreadsheet, and I did have this done. I will put it down in the comments with all the formulas so you can just plug in numbers. Never done this before, so hopefully that comes through on an Excel file good for you from the video. But if not, I will explain everything today so you can put this together for yourself to see how we do this. So we're gonna evaluate the truck as a tool that we use, whether you're using that for a farm like we are gonna use it for, a homestead, farmstead, whatever, or if you're pulling a boat, camper, and you're just living a life and you're just wanting a truck to haul plywood from Home Depot or whatever it would be, right? You gotta evaluate the cost, and today we're gonna break that down all the way down per mile. So I'll tell you that'll end up in the cents. So your truck will cost you this many cents per mile over the life of the truck. So here's how we're gonna do it. So pay no attention to the actual funds, dollar amounts at this point in time. I'm strictly gonna talk to you about the formulas and how this works. So you take the overall price of your truck, which is what I did here. This is what I paid for my Ram back in 2018. You're gonna add on any additions. So for instance, if you want a tonneau cover, if you want, a special hitch, whatever would be outside of the cost of the truck, or perhaps you want performance wheels, you get the gist. So if you're gonna add a price performance-wise to the truck, that's gonna go in here, and that formula adds up. It's basically adding these two numbers together when we look at the overall cost of the truck. Then we have obviously the miles of the truck, and then we take the fuel mileage MPG. So the way I did this was I looked at national averages on a website. So I took the average, not city, not highway, but the average mile per gallon that these trucks get based on testing from third parties, not from the dealer websites. Those are the three main things most people look at when they're talking about the cost of a vehicle. But there's much more things to do when we look at the overall cost of the vehicle throughout a lifetime. So for instance, down here under maintenance, I have an oil change every 5,000 miles. And so these numbers are miles. I change my oil every 5,000 miles. Every time I change my oil, it costs me $120. So this block right here in the spreadsheet is the formula. This formula is the cost divided by 5,000 multiplied by your miles. So there's a little bit of inaccuracy here, and I want to help you understand this. This cost is derived every mile. So it's broken out cents per mile. Now, in the life of a truck, that's how it's going to come out. But you understand, you're only paying this cost every time you hit 5,000 miles. So if you trade your truck in and it has 14,999 miles on it, you didn't change the oil, you save $120. But I'm trying to figure out, what is the truck gonna cost me over that life? Same thing here. So this fuel is not fuel as in gas or diesel. This fuel is the fuel filters. Diesel trucks are very expensive. The fuel filter for my truck, there's actually two of them, is $114. I change the differential fluid with AMSOIL every 50,000. The transmission, I change the fluid every 50,000, and the filters, there's a cost to that. The air filter, I have a high performance air filter, which was in this cost up here, but I change it every 50,000. It's only 90 bucks because I have this high performance one. I do a brake job every 60,000. This was a roundabout number. I only do this maintenance when it needs it, but you understand I had to pick a number for a cost. It's about 60,000 on average. And then I got a miscellaneous one in here only for $50 for every 50,000. I just broke it up like that, thinking windshield wiper fluid, windshield wipers, whatever it would be. You're gonna have miscellaneous cost, but that really won't change depending on what truck you get. The windshield wipers are gonna last the same amount of time. And then tires every 60,000 miles. This will change based on the size truck that you have. So my diesel 3/4 ton, I just bought tires and they were $2,000. A half ton with 17-inch rims, the tires can be bought much cheaper. You understand? Altogether, we add this up and we get the total cost of our truck, or my truck specifically, at 68,000 miles. My truck, I have spent $63,500 on my truck. Take that total value here divided by 68,000 is 93 cents a mile. Now, to equate for the value, the total value of the truck, we have to determine if I sold my truck today, what would the value be? I'm conservative here. I know I could get 44,000 or more for my diesel truck right now, but there's the current value. So you take what I've spent based on what I could sell it for today. That gives you the cost that I have spent on those 68,000 if I sold my truck today, which comes down to my truck has cost me 29 cents per mile. Now you may be saying, well, that's all well and good, but I don't want to know what the truck cost me after I bought it. I want to know what the truck is going to cost me ahead of time. And this evaluation does the same exact thing. So I want to go over a few things so that you understand in this evaluation. As you go up in miles and trucks, so we're going to do an evaluation on 6 different truck models, basically at 50, 100, 150, and 200K. And we'll get into that in a minute, but understand there are many more trucks. When I look these trucks up, and I used Kelley Blue Book, Auto Trader, and another car search website, whatever it was, to look for prices on trucks so that I had a good pool of data. Auto Trader was my main one because I use Auto Trader to sell trucks. I've bought vehicles on Auto Trader. It's a good thing because there's a lot of vehicles on there to get a cost of an actual vehicle, I feel like. But that's where I used a lot of my data from. When I looked at 50,000 mile trucks, in these trucks that we're gonna see today, there were thousands of them within 200 miles of here, or whatever the number was, page after page, right? When I got to 200,000 and above, there was 23. So I will admit that my data at 200,000 could be skewed based on the time of year, the economic status of the country right now. You know, we just had an election. All of these things can change the price of a truck. This 29 cents a mile on my truck that you saw there, I probably will never see again in my lifetime because I bought that before the big COVID boom of trucks. And we all understand, if you've been looking to buy a truck in the last decade, what happened. Trucks were cheaper and then they skyrocketed through the roof. And so they're coming back down now as far as in the used truck market, but trucks are still 80,000. We didn't really see that prior to COVID unless you had some specialty truck. As I go into the models today, I tried to pick a 2,500 or 3/4 ton truck just because, one, that's what I have, but I felt like it was a good middle of the road. If you're wanting to buy a ton or a F450 or 550, a bigger truck, or whether you're wanting to buy a half ton or even, you know, a Ranger, whatever the smaller economy trucks would be, that's fine. I just picked the truck that was in the middle of the road. Once again, this is not about you need to pick this truck. It's about how to do the math to figure out which truck is going to be best for you per mile. So as we start, we have this group of trucks up here. So I have 2 Rams, 2 Chevys, 2 Fords. I didn't do anything foreign. I stuck with my 3 name brand American made trucks because that's what I'm gonna buy. You can do this with any truck though. It doesn't matter to me, you know. But this top group here is diesel. And then this bottom group, I did the same trucks with the same lines, but I did it in gas. And it's really amazing data here as we get into it. But I tried to pick a low, which I'm familiar more with the Ram. So you have the Tradesman is kind of your low, more stripped down model. And then your Laramie, of course, is your leather loaded truck. Same thing with Chevy. You have the LT and the LTZ. Chevy has a custom model that I really like, but it's in the middle there. And then on the Ford, you have your XL, and then all the way up to your Lariat. Obviously, they have, all of these brands have, you know, the Denali or the King Ranch or whatever it would be, but I tried to pick the average truck in the higher frame of model, just so you're aware what we were doing. The other thing that happened, as we were switching back and forth from gas to diesel, these numbers here are significantly different. An oil change on a gas truck is significantly cheaper than an oil change on a diesel truck. And actually, after I did this, I realized my diesel number on my oil change was a little high. But because this is what I pay typically, but it's mainly due to this fuel filter brought this cost up some. So I had this number off. I really pay more, around $80 when I do it myself. That's the other thing about these numbers. This is not a dealership cost or a store cost. This is the material cost, me doing all of the maintenance myself. So this is going to change for you if you take your car to a dealership to get it worked on. Just understand these numbers will change for you, which is why these numbers that I'm going to show you today may not work for you exact. Same thing with tires, though. I did have the tire distribution company put my tires on, but you can obviously choose different tires. I really like my Toyo Open Countries, so I bought an expensive set of tires. You're just going to have to price it out and see what you can do. Up on the fuel, I ran diesel fuel at $3 a gallon because that's what I paid last week, and $2.50 on gas because that's what my wife paid in her Traverse last week. So that you understand all these numbers, but really it's the mathematical formula and how we break it down, not necessarily every number, remember. Now I'm gonna go through and show you the trucks, right? The actual brands, all those levels and the cents. It was really kind of, I've always wanted the diesel truck. I've stuck with diesel trucks, so I've never really looked at gas trucks. I knew the pros and cons, and there are lots of them besides what I'm gonna mention today. So understand, if you're a diesel guy all the way and you love to roll coal and you disagree with my numbers and how this evaluation comes out, it's okay. I'm just looking at the sure mathematics of this. The other thing about diesel versus gas that I did equate in, when you get to 200,000 miles on a diesel truck, you start to fix things, right? So there's added maintenance of what could go wrong. And so you have to pick an evaluation. I looked at websites on actual costs. And so when we got to a diesel truck at 150,000 miles, I added $1,000, assuming something would go wrong with that truck somewhere within 150,000. At 200,000 miles, I added $4,000, assuming an injector or something would happen, but that could be less or more based on your style of driving and your mechanical ability, all those things, right? On a gas, though, it's even more. So at 150,000 miles on a gas truck, the costs when I looked up on these websites and when I logicked my way through it was significantly more, because gas trucks are not made to go 400,000 miles typically, right? You all have one guy out there that has one, I know. But so the cost, when you look up on national averages, at 150,000, it was like an added $5,000 for a gas truck. And at 200,000 miles, it was $12,000 of average cost at 200,000. So that had to be added in to the overall cost of the truck. If you were the guy who bought this truck new and kept it till 220,000 miles, sometime in that life of that truck, you're gonna have some mechanical issues just because stuff wears out. This is not auto body, you didn't have a crash, that stuff. Obviously, I'm not talking about that. It's just the trucks have natural things that break down in quality at that many miles. So that cost was added in on that additional cost line. You're gonna have to choose that for yourself. So now, you're waiting for it, but I'm gonna show you the numbers, but I want you to understand at the end, I'm gonna close with some things that I'm not mentioning. And I'll tell you one, my diesel truck has an exhaust brake, engine brake, whatever you wanna call it, but I think it's an exhaust brake the way it works. It's a beneficial item that you only get on the diesel side. I've never seen a gas truck with that. And when you pull a lot of stuff, so there's value there. I'm not trying to sell you on value, just the numbers. But at the end, I'm gonna give you my conclusions on the overall things. The major things that I found by running data on what makes a truck last longer, have a better value at the end, and the overall sense, the overall price per mile coming down, things you can do that will help that in the life of a truck. But let's look at the numbers here first. So we're gonna start with your diesels. This truck up here is mine. These numbers are skewed, remember, because I bought my truck in 18 before the big price boom. These trucks are all 2025 models. And then I took trucks that were of young age, but had higher mileage when I looked up the quality of trucks. You can obviously see there's a difference between a low grade or a low model truck versus the Laramie or, leather and all those things in every brand. Now, this LTZ, they had a special deal on them right now, so this number is skewed as well. I think this would be 80 cents per mile right now, but there was a special deal on them, and I didn't find that same deal on LTs. So as we get into the 100,000 miles, that levels out. So I'm telling you, I think that 75 is wrong based on the model. It was just a special deal that Chevy had running this month. Same thing with your Ford. So as you go up, obviously that cost goes out. As you go out, the very biggest loss in all of these numbers from mileage count to mileage count is between 50 and 100K. So basically, if you hit 100K on your trucks, what you'll see is the numbers just per mile only go down slightly per mile. The truck has the same value. And remember, these numbers here have added costs based on issues mechanically, right? We're still averaging out across the whole truck. But the biggest loss, like most of us know, we drive that brand new truck off the lot, is right in here, okay? Between that brand new to 50. And so this is the value of the truck from new to 50, right? So somewhere between new and 50, we have a huge drop in cost. As we look at our three brands, our Ram comes in the cheapest per mile with a diesel truck, okay? Now, you can not like that, whatever you want to say, and you can say the Chevy is worth it. So let's look at that though. I want to talk to you about, let's look at the Laramie at 100,000 versus the LTZ, okay? You're looking at $15,000 difference basically at 100,000 miles. So is the Chevy worth 15,000 more to you than a Ram? There are guys that I know that would say, without a doubt, yes, they ride better, they like the functions better, whatever it would be. But you can see as a cost per mile, they are the more expensive truck. Same thing with Ford. They're a little bit more than Ram. People will say, oh, a Ford will pull more. Not here to make that argument, but you can see the numbers there. The one thing that I was unable to find was a Ford Lariat with 200,000 miles. It's maybe this month that I'm looking, they're out there. I'm not saying they don't last that long. There just wasn't enough of them for me to have a good number. Now, as we go into gas, you're going to see those same exact numbers. Gas trucks are cheaper than diesels. You understand, if you've looked at trucks, that there's a sticker price addition for that diesel engine. And so now, is that upfront cost of a diesel engine, even though the fuel mileage is better, okay, on average, does it pay itself out? You're going to see that here now as we go into the gas truck. But understand, the reason the numbers are what they are is because the initial cost of the truck was less, and also the resale value went down as well. All right, there are your numbers for the gas truck. Here is the thing that is very funny to me. The Tradesman at 50,000 miles costs the exact same. When you go to the diesel, the loaded diesel, there was a difference. The gas truck was actually cheaper per mile at 50,000 miles. Okay, same thing with the Chevy. They were a little cheaper in the 50s. Ford was a little cheaper, but it was funny to me that this XL actually was cheaper or more expensive, I'm sorry, at this market. And it was because there were more of these around. There was less of these Lariats for some reason in the brand new market. And they had deals on them for some reason this month. It's year-end clearance. This is November. Same thing, costs from 0 to 50, there's a bigger drop. So after you get past 50,000 miles, the cost drops very little. It stays competitive as you go throughout. And then as we get out here in the gas in the 200,000 range, you'll definitely see there was less and less trucks. Now, I want to point out, this does not mean that Ford trucks last longer. There's just less of these trucks for sale for me to get what I thought was an accurate depiction of the number. But there you have it. Gas trucks per mile are just a hair cheaper. And I'll tell you that if you take a truck that's gas and you drive it for 50,000 miles and you can get a good value at 50, you can trade and go right back in for a good price. But if you take that truck to 80,000 miles, there was a significant price drop, right? So take it to 80, 100, 120. Your cost per mile went way down if you can keep a truck that long. So I want to run through the formula one more time so you can do this for yourself after you've seen these numbers. You're going to take your cost of your truck, right, and any additions that you think you would add into it. So, or you can just say, hey, I want to get this fancy one, and that's the cost of it today when you're looking at new or used. It doesn't matter. If it's used, this mileage here is going to change. So it's not how many miles it has on it today, it's how many miles you're going to put on it. So if you think I'm going to buy this truck and put 50,000 on it, you're going to put 50,000 there, even though the truck may have 100,000 miles. Got it? But then down here, when you look for a current value of a truck, that what will this truck be worth? You're going to look at that same truck that you're thinking about buying today used and say, at 100,000 miles, these trucks today are costing about this. And then figure out what this is going to cost you. You can look up how many quarts of oil, what kind of oil do you want to use, what kind of filters do I want to use. You can look on an auto parts website and find all of this data that you want to do, or call up the dealer and ask them, hey, I'm looking at this style truck, and just ask them, what is a brake job going to cost me? What is a transmission change, fluid change, and filter going to cost me? And they'll give you that price if you're thinking about taking all your stuff to the dealer. On this mileage per gallon, you can look up national averages. That's one good way to do it. Or when you test drive the truck, most of the trucks today have a computer that will tell you what the guy prior to you was getting. Now, I will tell you, when they come to a dealership, some of those guys lead foot them around for a while, so that might be 1 or 2 miles less to the gallon. But you make that choice and say, okay, what am I going to put in here? What is the price of gas or diesel today? And come up with what is your overall cost of mileage going to be on the truck that you're thinking about buying for the next 50,000, the next 100,000. How long do you have to keep it to be efficient? And then you can use that number to evaluate. Let's say you have 4 different trucks that you want to buy, to say overall, which one's going to cost me more in the long run per mile. All right, so I told you I'd give you some recaps, and here's what I have noticed. The biggest thing that will change the price of your truck, the value of your truck to you, is one, did you buy it right? And so that takes patience, waiting for a sale, looking for the right truck at the right time. What time of year? If you go out on a whim and you just go shopping and you find it and you pick it out and you only go to one dealership, you understand you're probably not getting the best cost. Every truck manufacturer has a different time of year that they have special sales. There's always a year-end sale because they're trying to get their year-end numbers right. But are you patient to know we want this truck and we would like to pay this price? And with that, you can't be picky on color sometimes. You can't be picky on certain things. You're looking for the best price. So if that's what you're looking for, the best price, fine. If you're like, I don't care, I just want my specific truck, you're probably going to pay more for it. The next thing in this valuation that will really change these numbers is how well you take care of a truck. So because we added in the current value of the truck, and that takes out to determine each price per mile, the better you take care of a truck. Trucks that had 100,000 miles were still more expensive than trucks that had 60,000 miles on some of these websites, depending on how the guy took care of it. If it still looks immaculate at 100,000 and the other guy's is half beat up at 70,000, the immaculate truck is going to be worth more. So how well do you take care of a truck? If you're going to beat the tar out of it, don't buy a Denali, because it's not going to hold its value just because it's a Denali, right? how well you take care of a truck, how well you care about it and protect it and wash it and wax it and all these things, it does have a value when it comes to resale. The other thing I found when evaluating numbers is that there's a lot of people that focus on miles per gallon, and miles per gallon don't change a lot of cost in a truck, in the overall cost of a truck. Leather seats will cost you more cents per mile than mileage per gallon differences will, believe it or not. So that leather seat option may be $3,000 or $4,000. Whereas if you look at one truck versus the next truck and you're gaining 2 miles to the gallon better, that's only like $500 a year if you drive 20,000 miles. So when you look at those kind of things, the cost mileage per gallon is pretty low on the overall what changes these numbers, what makes them flip up or down. So if I took my diesel truck averages around 22 miles to the gallon. Now, obviously, when you're looking at 12 or 14 in a gas truck, there's a big difference there in savings. But if you're looking at a Ford versus a Ram, and Ram gets about 2 miles to the gallon better, that 2 mileage difference really doesn't put a lot of cost over the life of a truck. The other thing that is gonna save you cents per mile, big time, in the long run. So if you're looking at the 150K and 200K, if you're a guy who buys a truck and keeps it for 200,000 miles before he gets rid of it, maintenance is crucial. So those costs that I added in for the average cost, I don't have those costs in trucks. I've never spent that amount of money. I've never had a major destructive problem with my trucks because the maintenance is done religiously. And you can tell by the amount of money and what I'm saying, I changed my oil with this. I know guys who just go off the sensor in their dashboard and they'll take their truck to 10, 12,000 miles before an oil change because the dash said it was still fine. I change my miles religiously at 5,000 miles, even though the manual says 7,500. It does cost me more, but in the long run, I'm hoping that the maintenance cost of my truck is, better and cheaper. And I have found that for me, it is. That is another thing that I've noticed. If you can reduce that maintenance cost significantly, you will reduce the overall cost of your truck per mile. Lastly, the overall biggest thing that makes a swing on which truck to pick, not brand, just which truck to pick, are these bells and whistles. If you pick a King Ranch Ford versus an XL, the truck is still a truck. The engine, the tranny, the suspension is all the same for the most part. But the leather seats, the heated aired seats, the big LCD screen, those things add a lot of cost. And when you look at the overall structure, the engine is the most expensive thing on a truck, but that's not what raises the cost of a truck a lot. It's the luxury things. Now you may look at it, and when you look at 100,000 miles, it's $12,000. You would rather have nice cool air blowing up your butt crack for $12,000 for 100,000 miles. Yeah, I get it if that's what you want. But if you're looking at how do I reduce the cost of a truck, those are the things you do without. The last thing that I've noticed specifically to farm trucks. So there's a lot of trucks out there, and I feel like if you have a bigger truck, a ton or even bigger, a lot of guys say you have to have a diesel. They want a diesel truck. It's become a popular thing, even though it is a very nice, powerful, all those things. They last longer. There's lots of pros to diesel trucks for me, but if you can get a good deal on a gas truck, just because it costs you more per gallon, you're like, man, this thing just drinks fuel and it's expensive to drive. So I found at an auction one time, about a year ago, I found an awesome deal on a gas truck. So this was an F450 single cab XL, I think it was a 6-speed, whatever the transmission was. It was a manual, had a flatbed on it, dually, had 60,000 miles on this gas V8 engine. He said he gets 9 miles to the gallon when he's pulling cows with it. This truck sold for $12,500 a year ago in 2023. That truck is super cheap miles per gallon. So if you look at, we got a farm or we've got a construction business or whatever it would be, buying a truck like that doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles, that doesn't, make anybody smile, you're not riding in a parade, but gets the job done, you can afford to then buy a nice car to drive around town or a smaller truck to drive around town and use that truck as a farm specific or work specific workhorse truck. Even though it's a gas, the price per mile will be significantly lower because you got it at a great deal. There are less great deals on diesel trucks. When you look at trucks with 150,000 miles, some of the prices for these 150,000 mile diesel trucks in my mind are still outrageous. But there are more deals to be found with higher mileage gas trucks than diesel. Well, there you have it. I will say, after running these numbers, I do think right now the best value on a brand new truck is the Ram Cummins diesel Tradesman. The nice thing about this for me is there are certain things that I want in a truck as far as bells and whistles. I need Bluetooth. I need to be able to talk on my phone safely. You know, people are calling me, customers are calling me while I'm hauling equipment or hauling cattle. I need to be able to hit a button and have it go through the speakers. The lowest model, the Tradesman, still offers this. I need power. I don't need power windows, but I like power windows. It'd be nice to have power windows. Everything has power windows now. Tradesman model on the Ram trucks have this rubber floor instead of carpet. I like that. I specifically got that on my truck because it's so much easier to clean. Maybe you don't like it, but that's a huge value for me. Doesn't have a fancy tailgate. Has everything else that I need on it though. I have an XL or an SLT, like the middle model there, but the Tradesman is a great value right now. There's no way that I could justify on my farm spending $85,000, $90,000 on a loaded truck when a Tradesman right now is selling for $45,000, $46,000 in November of 24. Well, there you have it. Let me know what you think. If you think I missed something, and there are lots of things, I told you I left some stuff out, okay? So there are things that I don't think, obviously the way I take care of a truck doesn't come into play. For instance, this Ford truck has this issue with this year, okay? I'm not arguing those points about specific models. So, and then value, I will tell you that value on these trucks, when I'm looking at 25s, I went all the way down to 2020 to get to the 150 to 200,000 miles. That will change over time. So what a 2020 at 150,000 is worth, the 25 when you get to 2028 should be worth a little more. But when you're looking at how to evaluate the cost, this is how I do it, and I think it's a very good way to tell you exactly price per mileage, what you're gonna spend on a truck. Hope this video helps. Please like and subscribe. I hope I can get that spreadsheet down for you, but I went over it enough that you can build that yourself or just hard do the math with a calculator. This is how it works. This is how we do everything on our farm. It's not just for trucks, but it works really good for a truck in today's market. Good luck when you buy a truck. It's expensive, especially if you're financing. You got to put that interest cost in there. That's something I did not talk about. So some truck companies will have lower interest rates, and that could swing you to a certain brand. Not here to preach one brand or the other. That's the biggest great American argument there is, but that has to go in here also if you're going to do that. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. It really does help our channel. Stick around with us. We're going to show some more farm stuff coming up. Today, I got a video coming up on air compressors. I got a new air compressor set up. So we will have some more videos coming out. And then we have our pasture video that we're still getting comments for, and we'll get that put together. Have a good night.